Good morning and welcome to RVN TV's Entrepreneur State of Mind. My name is Krista Smolda and I'm your host each and every Tuesday at 11:30. I have a very special guest with me today. I actually have had him on before, but now he's coming back to us with a little bit of a different story about some things that he's doing. And he personally was the individual that sparked me into entrepreneurship. I think about him often. Every week, you pop into my mind. I think, thank God I met that guy. His name is Mike Foti. He is a presidential director at Stream Energy. He's also an author of The ADD Entrepreneur, a mess to success via the power of God. Welcome to my show, the famous Mike Foti.
I don't know about
Thank you
famous,
so much.
but thank you for having me.
You are famous in my eyes. And I'm not kidding when I say that, well, it's probably 9 years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I watched you present something to me, and I just went, I'm in. Like, you sold me completely, but not just through the numbers. The numbers had something to, but it was just you. It was something about you. And hey, now I know that this went back to the power of God. I really do, right? We met for a reason.
Yes.
So I know you, but not everyone knows you, all right? So give me the Cliff Notes version of Mike Foti's life over the last 20 years.
Well, again, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Krista. About 7.5 years ago, I was a jack of all trades and a master of none. I had a vending route at the time. Loved it. It was my own business. But I locked myself in the back of my own vending cargo van in a South Jersey shopping center on a 90-degree day. Now, you have to understand, the wind blew the door shut when I was getting supplies, and there was a child protective cage between the cab and the back and child protective locks. I couldn't get out. And the first chapter of the book goes into what I went through mentally and emotionally being trapped in that van.
What were you thinking when you were trapped there?
Just like my disorganized ADHD life, I had to get out.
Yeah.
The only way I knew was to pound on the windows with my face up against it. I gave one older lady a heart attack. Finally, someone let me out. And when I got out, I realized I had to escape more than just that hot van. I had to escape my loser, ADD, disorganized, forgetful lifestyle.
So that was your own business, that vending business? Were the things that you did in that time frame always entrepreneurial, or have you ever worked for someone else?
You know, over the past 20 years, I did try to have a regular job. Had problems focusing, staying on task, boredom, and a few days I felt like I was trapped. I had to get out. I just couldn't hold a regular job.
Now, I know a special person in your life, Deneen.
Yes.
When did you meet Deneen?
I fell in love with Deneen in 8th grade, believe it or not. We were drawing something on the chalkboard at school, and we're.
And she was with you through all of this.
Yeah. She's my star. She grounds me. She keeps me focused. Keeps me from going into excess, which as ADD people often can.
That's why I wanted to mention her too, because I believe you can function with ADD, right? But you need that little person to kind of guide you.
Yeah, you need a grounded spouse.
And that's the need. Okay, so you get out of the van and you decide, I'm done, I need something else. What happens after
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I found myself next in the office of my therapist. I was seeing a therapist, full disclosure. She was a Christian therapist, and I said to her, this next thing, this stream thing has to work. And she said, another thing? I said, yeah, but it's got to work. She said, well, when's the last time you got on your knees and asked God to bless your business? I thought, well, never. Can you even do that? It seems kind of selfish, you know? Did a little bit of reading and found out it's actually a pretty biblical concept. So I got on my knees one day in my living room. Nobody was around. Pretty heartfelt prayer. I wanted to be a better father, better husband, better provider. And I wanted to be significant at something. Shed some tears in that prayer. Got up, never imagined what God would do next. Within 3 months and 3 weeks, we actually checked the record books. Over 1,000 people joined our Stream business.
Tell us what Stream is.
Stream is an amazing $8 billion company where in 4 minutes for free, you pay a little less on your electric and gas, and it's a fixed rate. So people pay less on a free service.
So in a very short time, you climb the ladder and you're literally walking stage of an event as a very high income earner.
Yeah.
How high did you get?
Well, we're in the top 25 right now, by the grace of God.
Yes.
And the stream business changed our lives.
Yeah. So you get to this point where you're there, you're making, I don't want to disclose, but maybe it's 5 figures a month, you're making comfortably, like you're fine, right? Did you get into a comfort zone?
Unfortunately, sadly, yes. As all of us do, I fell into a comfort zone. It was about 5 years in. I call it the lazy zone.
Yeah.
My days consisted literally of sitting in front of my computer, managing our stream team, going to the gym for an hour a day. It was living the dream. It was a comfortable lifestyle.
Okay.
But it's a problem when you get comfortable. So one day my son comes home after graduating as a diesel technician and a diesel engineer, and he says, "Dad, I think I want to get into sales. I don't want to do cars and trucks." I said, "Really? After that?" Well, once the shock got by, he interviewed for a job, a solar job, and got it. And we were all happy, his first sales job, and next thing you know, his car dies. Like, it really dies. Not even he could fix it.
Right.
So I was faced, it was a bad thing. I was faced with one or two choices. Either he's going to be hanging out with me for a couple of months in my comfort zone, or I had to get out of my comfort zone and actually interview for the same position he had, get the position, and then work that solar business with him.
And you did that?
Yeah, I interviewed, got the job, and
What if you didn't get the job? That would have been funny, but
it would have been funny, right? And I never imagined what would happen next, quite frankly.
Well, tell me about when you joined. Did you have to go through training and things like that?
Well, yeah, that was the shock. I suddenly found myself with a supervisor, quotas. Sales meetings in the morning. I mean, the following Monday, we were at the South Philly office, 9 a.m. at the first training meeting. I had my orange vest on, my orange hat, the team colors. At the end of every meeting, we had to jump up in a rah-rah session, shouting persistence, and it was a big change.
And you used to be the person leading that. And inspiring other people.
Yeah, I felt like an undercover mole or something in there. But the real shock, Krista, was when they put us into a 15-person white cargo van. My friend Greg calls it the prison van. Orange vest, orange hat, and they took us to a Philly suburb on a cold November day, dropped us off in the morning and said, "See you at 5. Go knock on doors, do what we taught you."
So there are you and your son going together?
Yeah, it was exciting in one sense because I got to work with my boy, maybe teach him a couple things I thought, but it was kind of a real shock out of my comfort zone because it was cold sales, it was cold November day, and
technically you didn't have to do it. I mean, you were earning income and you didn't have to do it, but you were doing it for him.
Yeah, I thought it would be a lot of things could come out of it, wasn't sure what, but never did I ever imagine what would happen next.
Okay, hold that thought. We'll leave the audience just really salivating for what's next. We will be right back to find out what happened next, so stay tuned.
At Plymouth.
Welcome back to Entrepreneur State of Mind. I'm Krista Smolda, and I'm back here with Mike Foti, the ADD entrepreneur. We just told a story about basically the last 20 years of your life. You become a top income earner in a network marketing company, and then you decide, because your son wants to get into sales, that you're going to join at a low level into a solar company. You go through the training, you do the rah-rah, and they drop you off, and you're on your first day on the job, and you start knocking doors. Okay, and you told us before, you're never going to believe what happened next, so we're waiting. So what happens next? Well,
it was really like stepping out of my comfort zone. The pressure was pretty big because my son's watching me. He's watching Dad. Dad's always done well, and Dad's talked about sales, and I had to perform. And it was more than that. I had an opportunity for literally 8 straight months to just be with my son and teach him about life. So, we started off every day in the car with a word of prayer. We asked God to bless our business, and then we started banging doors. And we met every kind of person you wouldn't believe. I mean, good people, bad people, happy people, sad people. We got chased away from one house from a woman with a knife. We got escorted out of a neighborhood by a police officer who said you didn't have permits. We kind of strayed out of our territory that day. Everything. It was crazy. We learned a lot.
So what was did you have a quota that you had to meet?
Yeah, we had to do one per week, and we started hitting
One
that.
sale, like one
Yeah.
commitment to get solar panels?
Yes, we started doing that for the first couple weeks, and we had 1 week where we actually hit 11. And I remember we were in the sales meeting. There's about 30 people in that morning sales meeting, ages 20 to 35, and they actually chose us to say, what are you guys doing to get 11 when you need one? And I kind of thought for a minute, and I was thinking maybe I should come up with some special technique we were using, but I ended up just thinking about it and saying, you know what, guys, my son and I, we pray every morning, and we ask God to bless our business, and he does. They didn't know really how to take that, but they thought about it, and then all of a sudden they clapped, but it started a conversation where we got to know all these young people. I call them young because, they're young, a lot younger than me. We got to know them. We spent time with them. We broke bread with them. We heard about their problems. We visited their homes. And as time went on, they started joining our stream business because it kind of goes with solar.
Yes.
They see a lot of customers with high electric bills. So a couple joined who got a couple more. Then they got some reps from other companies. We couldn't believe it. 350 people joined my son's business, which is in my business, and they switched over 2,000 electric and gas customers.
Just by you stepping out of your comfort zone and joining a solar company
Yeah.
to be with your son.
Yeah, unexpected. But then it got better. We started knocking on doors that qualified for solar because they met all the criteria, except the roof was bad. And somebody said, hey, Mike, they might have an insurance claim. Maybe they can get a free roof if the claim was real. So I actually decided I'm going to get licensed as a licensed public insurance adjuster. But I failed the test. Failed it a second time, third time, and this was another lesson my son was watching. He said, Dad, you failed it 3 times. What are you going to do? I said, Mike, I may fail it 100 times, but I will never stop taking that test. I failed it a 4th time, a 5th time, failed it 6 times. Finally, I passed it on the 7th time. And he was watching the whole time, and I basically tried to teach him, look, effort or attitude will trump talent every time. So we literally, our adjusting business took off. We had over 100 applications in. So it was the second big blessing. But then, it's just so much that happened. We're knocking on this one door one morning, 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, big $2 million house in Doylestown. And my son says, Dad, why are we here Saturday morning at 9 a.m.? I said, did you see what stickers are on the garage windows? He said, what? I said, support the troops. So we go to the front foyer, more support the troop stickers. But he says, Dad, why are we here at 9 a.m. Saturday? What are we doing? I said, watch. So we bang on the door. Next thing you know, the door swings open. This 75-year-old crotchety Irishman with a cup of coffee says, what do you want? I said, we're here to make America great again. He said, come on in. Thus began an amazing relationship with Guy Quigley, owner and founder of Cold-Ease Medicine. So much came out of that, but in the end, the big thing there was I was actually able to get into a mastermind group with Mr. Quigley that I never would have got into. And it just kind of resonated that all these things happened because I stepped out of my comfort zone.
Yep.
And just too numerous to count.
And you call that your lazy zone.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just new people starting a business that have to get out of their comfort zone. Even veterans or people established in network marketing, we sink into that comfort zone, that lazy zone.
Yep.
Not much happens in that comfort zone, but everything happens when you step out of it.
It does. Now, there are people that I know, because I'm in the network marketing business as well, thanks to you, that will hit a comfort zone or a lazy zone, and they might stay there. You didn't stay there. You were aware enough, or maybe it was just your son coming to you that got you out of it. I don't know. But what would you suggest for people that feel stuck?
Well, I mean, get over
Honestly.
it. Get over it. I mean, that statement is very true. Life truly begins where your comfort zone ends. But, stepping out of the comfort zone is stepping into the faith zone. That's part of what I talk about in the book.
It is.
Building businesses, relationships, there's a lot you got to do. And I don't know how anybody could do it without, believing in God.
Yes. Yep. Or even just spirit. I mean, if it's not God, it's spirit and being spiritual, and being, and going through that journey. I mean, I know I've been through a journey of transformation in my mind, in my physical body.
Yes.
And I told you outside, it's happening, right? But you
Yes.
got to kind of go through that process.
Well,
to make
and
it
again,
happen.
kudos to you because you're experiencing so much success now in your isogenics business. And
Yes.
what I've learned in watching the network marketing world is if you have a fast rise to stardom, if you're all of a sudden the big guy or gal on the block, and one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to go to your head and you're going to have a hard fall, or you're going to realize you're truly blessed and you're going to try to be humble. It's not easy. Sometimes you're thrown into things quicker and you don't know what to do. But if you land on your feet and you realize you've been blessed and give the glory to God, you're going to stay grounded.
And come back to the reason why you're doing it, which is not for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that it dawns on you quick that there's a greater purpose, which is affecting people's lives in so many other ways.
And your greater purpose was other people, and now it seems to have, it's always been to your son, but it's really happening now with your son. And when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about that and
Yeah.
what this whole experience has done, and get into a little bit about your book, okay?
Yeah, very surprising what else happened. Very
Okay.
surprising.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show, Entrepreneur State of Mind. I'm Krista Smolda, and we're back here with Mike Foti, author of the ADD Entrepreneur, Mess to Success via the Power of God. How does it feel to say that you're an author?
I feel unqualified, quite frankly.
Oh, no. Well, it's not out yet, so we'll talk more about that. But the whole experience that you went through, being this top income earner and being kind of in a lazy zone, you step out, you go with your son, you join this company, and all these other things start to happen,
Yes.
which are great. Financial success, new relationships, new future. But what really was the best thing that came out of you stepping out of your lazy comfort zone?
I never expected a greater relationship with my son. He was 23 at the time. And wow, doing door to door. I mean, we talked about everything in life, girls, this thing, that thing. We got chased off of properties, as I just said. We laughed. We got angry with each other. I never imagined I would share so many experiences and talk about so many personal, intimate things with my son, which I don't think I ever would have had the opportunity to do. I mean, if you go back a couple of years, 2 years after starting my stream business, I had spent so much time on it, probably because I was unemployed at the time when I found it. I had to get out of a hole. I remember having an argument with my son in the driveway. He was 19. And he said those words that I hated. He said, well, you're never around. All you do is work. And that was like a knife in my side. So it was coming out of that I had this rare opportunity to spend 8 to 12 months with my son doing door-to-door sales.
Yep.
And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Out of all the other things that came out of stepping out of my comfort zone, that was life-changing for both of us.
You're probably learning so much about him as a person, too.
Yeah, he's a little more talented than I had given him credit for. Yeah.
Is he a sales guy? Is he like you? I mean, does he have that talent?
He's very personable. He's technically skilled, and there was a lot of technical things needed on the computer with what we were doing.
But
yeah.
through experience, you noticed the troop sign, right? The troops, support the troops.
Oh,
sign.
yes.
And that's experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, we learned from each other. He learned to, he struggles with ADD himself.
He does.
And paying attention to detail is something that, you learn.
ADD. So I think there's people that legitimately have ADD. There's people that are labeled there's a lot, you hear a lot of that going around. What's your opinion on ADD? Is that a strength? Is that a weakness?
Krista, I used to think it was a weakness, but and this is going to sound really kind of dramatic, but I think it's a gift. There's certain things ADD people have that they may not realize, like the ability to hyper focus.
Yes.
When Deneen and I started our stream business, all we knew how to do was invite people to see the opportunity to the meeting, but I hyper focused on it. I kind of mastered that invitation, and it got very, very productive. But hyper focusing, you can offer hyper focus on one thing to the detriment of everything else in life. So you got to be grounded. And again, that we talked earlier about, my wife keeps me focused.
Yep.
You got to have somebody in your life to control that gift sometimes.
Yeah, and kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, Mike,
yes,
it's too
yes.
much. We need to.
Yeah, she taps you on the shoulder a lot.
Yeah. Or maybe it's one of these.
But you're right. But I've learned that through the power of prayer and the Lord, you can overcome your ADD deficiencies, and you finally realize that they're not liabilities, but they're assets.
Right, exactly. That's a very good way to look at everything, right? Always the positive. So the book. You gave me a sneak peek. I feel so privileged. I read a couple chapters. I think it's great so far, and I think it's kind of funny too. There's a lot of humor in there in the beginning, especially reading about you getting locked in the car. I'm sorry. But you're not done the book yet, right?
No, it's in process. It's almost done.
Is it difficult to focus on writing the book?
It's difficult to focus on anything with ADD, but
right.
even more so on the book, because you go through a whole myriad of emotions. Am I qualified to do this? Why would anybody want this? But I get inspiration because when I've spoken on stage and I've opened up with, "Hi, I'm Mike, I'm ADHD," and everybody kind of laughs. They realize, they come up to me after and say, "No, I really have ADD. Can you help me with it? What do you do to stay focused? What do you do to overcome this? Or what do you do to overcome that?" And this has been going on for years, and I realized, maybe if I can share with people how I've overcome these ADD challenges, maybe some people will be helped.
Mm-hmm. And incorporating God in there.
Yeah, couldn't do without him.
Have you always been spiritual? I mean, growing up, were you?
No, not at all.
That's interesting because you can make that shift, and you did. When did you do that?
My lovely wife, Deneen, took me to a movie called The Prodigal when I was 19. And it was about how a family comes to a relationship with God through a Billy Graham crusade. And at the end of the movie, I was blown away. And I heard a couple behind me. She elbowed her boyfriend and said, "You see, I told you we should have went to see Hard Bodies," whatever that was. And it dawned on me, why would someone be so unaffected and I would be so affected by this movie?
Yeah.
And on the way out, somebody gave me one of those little Christian tracts, and I accepted Christ.
When was that? How old were you?
I was 19 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a long time.
It's a long time, and up to that time, my life was a mess.
Mm-hmm. But you're a success now.
God's taken it from a mess to success, not because of financial rewards or network marketing success, but I've kind of got a greater perspective of what life's all about.
Yep.
It's about relationships,
yep.
A higher purpose, and letting people know how great God is.
Yep. And the definition of success doesn't mean your bank account. I mean, isn't it just your overall happiness and contentment with life?
Yep. I mean, stepping out of my comfort zone for that job with my son, if I didn't do that, I can't imagine, I wouldn't even have known what I lost, what I never had in my relationship with him,
Mike, can we expect to see the book in 2018? Is that putting too much pressure on you?
No, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. People are asking me. It's going to happen.
And you don't know how many chapters you're going to end up with, right?
No, I'm just sharing all the experiences, some of them kind of crazy, in my network marketing world.
Yep.
And a little before that, and I think it's going to be.
So far, it's very easy to read. I mean, it's a story.
Yes.
It's your story.
Yes.
So I love it. And those that know you, I know we're going to just really enjoy reading it that much more.
I hope.
It's going to be a bestseller. We're going to be back here in a year and a half with your top-selling author show.
We'll see.
But one more thing, because you still have ADD, right? You still live with ADD.
I believe I do. I've not been formally diagnosed. Let me just say that, but
okay.
I struggle with a lot of things.
I'm not a doctor either, but I'm going to diagnose you ADD.
Okay.
Sound good?
All right.
Tell us a story about a recent episode you had where you were beeping at the car.
You know you're ADHD when you're behind a pickup truck and the guy's at the light, and you wait for the light to change, and the guy does nothing. He just sits there. So you honk on the horn, you're beeping at him. What's this dummy doing? Next thing you know, it's a parked truck on the side of the road.
What about the guy that was flagging you down?
Another one. You know you're ADHD when somebody honks the horn on the highway pointing to your roof, and you realize you left your cell phone on your roof when you were pumping gas.
Your cell phone, and it stayed on there?
Miraculously, it stayed on there.
Not miraculously. Right?
Power of God.
It was the power of God. I know. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I cannot wait to read your book, The ADD Entrepreneur, From Mess to Success via the Power of God. Look for it on the shelves. And don't forget to tune in next week, Tuesday at 11:30, for another episode of Entrepreneur State of Mind.